Round 2 of Chihiro and Hirohiko starts off extremely strong thanks to Hirohiko's new, self-taught and created on-the-fly sword technique. Despite lacking a huge amount of experience, the prodigy Hirohiko is able to not only cleave through 100 years of sword mastery, but also keep up with and even exceed Chihiro's white EI purity style. Reviewing a short flashback of the fight with Hirohiko and the general manager of the Bloodshed Hotel, when Hirohiko changed his form and slashed through the manager's arm, it was not just some kind of fluke. Both the general manager and his disciples, after hearing that Hirohiko is some kind of student of quote-unquote freedom, they immediately look down on and underestimate the boy's ability. As the master swordsman of the Reigen One Sword style, similar to someone like Kuguri from the Hoshaku, Yojiro Sengoku values tradition and hard work above all else. The dignified man trained over 50 students, and despite them all developing into strong guardians and wielding the one sword style efficiently, even now, they still aren't able to land a single hit on their master in sparring matches. It's for this reason that despite Hirohiko being able to land such a critical attack on the manager, both he and his disciples were not willing to accept that a student of freedom had surpassed a master of tradition. To the point when they're watching their general manager get cut to ribbons by Hirohiko's technique, Yojiro's disciple can only cry out in utter denial of what's happening before his eyes, coming to the conclusion that his sensei lied to him all those years ago, when during a training session, the manager stated almost as if it was a universal law that hard work and dedication will always triumph over innate talent and quote-unquote, as he calls them, geniuses. Yojiro even goes as far as to say that there are no geniuses in this world, which shatters the young disciple's entire worldview when he watches his master get cut down by one of these mythological geniuses, a moniker that fits Hirohiko beautifully. From the moment Hirohiko denied sword training from Kuguri, he's been constantly being looked down on and told that he needs to start taking things seriously. However, I'm genuinely scared to see what a Hirohiko that uses effort, dedication, and time to develop his skills would look like. Because as of right now, Hirohiko just coming up with random shit on the fly and seeing what sticks is enough to tear down 100 years of history. And with no prior instruction or knowledge, Hirohiko just creates his own unique style of swordplay just out of nowhere. An extremely effective one at that, because it is not only enough to surpass the Reigen One Sword style, but it can even compete with the White EI Purity style, a purely esoteric sword fighting technique that only a few handful of people have been able to actually master and compete against. And while sure, all of that is impressive, what is the most insane thing about all of this, honestly, is that, again, this improvised fighting style that Hirohiko comes up with is actually a very difficult and unorthodox way of wielding a blade that most genuine sword masters probably wouldn't even be able to do with practice. Because with little effort, Hirohiko is just passing the sword between his different hands in quick succession. He's alternating between front and backhanded sword wielding. He's throwing the blade behind his back and switching his wrist around to change the trajectory and the direction. And because the sword is just moving so much in general and constantly changing hands, forms, all of the kinds of styles, it's giving the impression that Hirohiko's blade is just quite literally disappearing as he makes attacks. It is just too difficult and quick for any kind of enemy to discern where Hirohiko's attack is coming from. And because of that entire concept and idea, it's giving Hirohiko a even larger range of counterattacks, as his sword can just very easily change positions at the snap of a finger. Combined with Hirohiko's bare bones combat experience that at least allows him to understand where an opponent's blind spot will be and being able to keep within it and attacking from it, that way his attacks are always aiming where his opponents cannot see, this invisible sword illusion continues to maintain its effect even against high-level sword masters. But conveniently, for Chihiro, not only are his eyes, similar to his father Kunoshige's, able to quickly adapt and perceive such small and minute details to the point he might be one of the only characters that can keep up with Hirohiko's new sword style, it's also the exact reason that Chihiro was able to learn the White EI Purity style from scratch and with no prior instruction. Also, conveniently enough, the white EI Purity style speed is the perfect opposition to Hirohiko, because Hirohiko even admits Chihiro's sword is actually moving faster than his is. Again, someone that was able to move faster than a 150-year-old swordmaster. Chihiro does believe, though, that he has yet to perfect his white EI Purity style, so technically, there's an even higher level of speed that Chihiro should be able to reach. Now, what is interesting to me about this fight is both of these characters are the mythological geniuses that Yojiro was claiming don't exist in the world. Hirohiko's new fighting style was enough to kill the general manager on his first attempt at using it, and despite Chihiro never receiving training or anything at all, just watching two former role models perform the sword style, Chihiro can just replicate the pure white EI style from sight alone, which again is a close to extinct fighting style that's on the verge of being forgotten due to its not only difficulty to grasp, but its inability to pass on to any students besides Somura, Oruha, some other dude, and then the main original master of the sword based off of the small panel we saw of the 4 plaques under the sword style. Just like the intuitive learner Hirohiko, Chihiro is able to adapt to crisis situations in no time, and honestly, it seems like he learns under pressure much better than when he's going through traditional training. I'm sure that taking time to practice one's skills are definitely important, but as of right now, that entire idea is just being flipped on its head by Hokazono. I mean, I've said it multiple times at this point, but Hirohiko just destroyed a sword mastery style that lasted generations, and Chihiro is nearly on the verge of mastering an esoteric sword style that was impossible for the average sword user to even handle and conceptualize. These two rivals together, whether they like it or not, are more tied together and connected than they can care to appreciate. Or at least Chihiro can care to appreciate, because Hirohiko is completely down for this whole rivalry thing. Kindred spirits indeed. Now, meanwhile, as Chihiro and Hirohiko are battling it out on the elevator and also making their way down to the bottom floor, Iori and Masumi are making their way to the top of the hotel in order to complete Iori's memory seal. Now that she has decided she's going to be better off going back to school, saying screw all of this crazy violent stuff and just living a peaceful life away from all the bloodshed, the Masumi have a much better understanding now on the parent-child bond than they did beforehand, because the last seal was weak enough for Iori to break just by remembering the feeling she had for her father. But now that the Masumi understand that her mind will always try and search for these memories, they can better respond and create a stronger seal that stands no chances of weakening. Which means once Iori returns to school, that's it. Everyone will have their minds wiped like it's Men in Black. She will become undetectable to any of the Hashaku or any other threats looking to go against her father, Somura. Sure, there are people that did die and people got hurt in that small little scuffle at the school, but everything will pass, life will move on. And it does seem that now that we're getting closer to this ultimatum being made, Iori does have some doubts, it seems, about leaving a huge part of her life behind. She's not meant for a world of bloodshed, to be honest with you. You know, at the end of the day, this life of blood and violence and revenge, she's not built for it. Right now, she's really only being protected. She's some type of liability for the most part. Unless she has an awakening and develops some type of crazy sorcery or just gets trained by some kind of Masumi later, Iori is always going to be an issue and just someone to take care of, similar to how Kara was in the very beginning of the story. Which, I wonder what's up with her. I wonder how she's doing. What happened to that other girl that would take missions for Chihiro? I wonder how they're all doing. Do they think Chihiro's dead? Anyway, what's keeping Iori from questioning her decisions too much and thinking that she's making the wrong decision is what Hirohiko mentioned just before the fight broke out. And Hirohiko says that not only is Iori Somura's weakness, and he thanks her for being born, Somura is, as we know, currently on a mission to take out the rest of the enchanted blade wielders due to his own self-imposed restrictions of guilt. But because this guilt is figuratively, but also literally, blinding Somura, he's not even of sound mind enough to keep tabs on his daughter and know this entire debacle is going on and that she may even be in big danger. Sure, we know that Somura does care about his daughter. While it may be true that he is distracted, Somura definitely put his daughter in hiding because he felt it was the best decision to keep her safe. But in this moment, at least from her perspective, especially with everything that's going on now, it seems to her that he just abandoned her and didn't care about her at all. In her mind, she's been the only one grieving loss. So if her dad doesn't care about her, it might be better off if she just forgets and moves on. But this small little interaction is enough to make it clear to me, at least, that something is going to spark Iori's desire to not accept this school life, and she is going to stick with us till the end. Because not only is it just, shonen obviousness, but something is going to show Iori that Somura, her dad, does care about her. Whether he actually shows up and protects her personally, or another offhanded comment is made by Chihiro or Masumi, or she remembers a memory of her dad caring. I sincerely, severely doubt that this arc is going to end with Iori just going back to school and living her normal life. I think she's in way too deep to just be forgotten about. But we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens, because right now my attention is completely on the round 2 battle of Hirohiko and Chihiro, and I need some kind of payoff from that before we begin to even move on with Iori. But that's the beauty of Kagurabachi, is every week we're gonna get some kind of intense chapter, and even better, I'll be here to cover it and talk about it and yap as much as I possibly can for you guys. I love you. Thank you so much for watching this far into the video. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace, peace.